You said you knew very little about Macheda.
Yeah.
I obviously knew even less about Macheda at that point, but let me tell you, by the end of the game, I hated that guy.
That was your Gerrard moment.
I still hate that guy now.
Culture Cams, Dan, welcome to Rematch. This is a good one, man. We've done a lot of games, but this is the first game revolving around Man United, which is, of course, why we have Cam today. And, of course, Aston Villa, which is why we have you, Dan. And this is a game that we're going to look at in 2009. A huge game with title aspirations and top four aspirations as well, too, where Man United faced Aston Villa. Now, before I get into the game and ask you guys where you were and what the thought process was and what the feelings were ahead of time, let's paint the scene a little bit, right? The title race, just 2 weeks before that, March 14th, was separated by 10 points between Man United and Liverpool. So at this point, it looked like United were going to fly away with what would have been their 19th title at the time, I believe. Yeah, their 19th. No, 18th, excuse me. Yeah. Which would have leveled them with Liverpool and would have seen them complete yet another 3-peat. It looked inevitable. And then 4-1 at home happened to Liverpool. Liverpool go to Old Trafford and absolutely wipe the floor with them. And then the following week, Man United lose to Fulham. And all of a sudden now, Man United and Liverpool look like real contenders for the title. And the backstory behind this weekend is that Liverpool the day before had just beaten Fulham themselves with a 92nd minute winner from Yossi Benayoun. So going into this game, Man United were 1 point ahead of Liverpool. Liverpool 67 points, Man United 68. This was a huge game. But as for Aston Villa, also with top four aspirations here. Now, we look at the modern day Aston Villa, and that's become something that under Unai Emery you guys expect season in, season out. But let's go back to this Aston Villa side that at the time were maybe the best of the rest. If you look at the traditional top four, Villa under Martin O'Neill were a side with European aspirations. And I think going into this game, they were 6 points behind Arsenal in fourth. So win this game, you can really close the gap. But before we really talk about what happened, what transpired on this day, do you guys remember where you were for this game?
Yes, I do. Actually, do you know what? It was funny because as you mentioned the Liverpool game, I always say the Liverpool game, that 4-1, it's up there with my worst ever feelings as a Man United fan. I remember watching that at home and I was like on the sofa, but it's these times nobody was in the house with me. It was just me by myself. So I brought the covers from, you know when you bring the covers from your room into the living room, right? So I'm watching it, and honestly, the whole Nemanja Vidic pulling Torres down, Torres running riot that game. You had was it Aurelio? Aurelio. And then I remember that Gerrard kissing the camera. So when you're young, you don't really have hate for anybody. You just kind of support your team and it's whatever. You don't really take in the rivalries as much as you should. But the minute Steven Gerrard kissed that camera, I have never downloaded hate for someone so much. It was like a flick. I hated him. I just immediately hated him. I remember after the game, I was nearly in tears. Like, that's how much it was affecting me. So going into this game, when you look at this Aston Villa one, I remember the one thing that was like stood out for me as well was that how many players we were missing. We missed Vidic wasn't there, Rio wasn't there, Paul Scholes wasn't there, Wayne Rooney wasn't there,
Berbatov wasn't
there.
If we look at the lineups real quick, Man United went with a weakened team, right? With Edwin van der Sar in goal, of course, but Gary Neville, John O'Shea, Johnny Evans, and Patrice Evra, all three of those players weren't, you would say, Man United starting players in those positions. O'Shea was largely a right back that year. Vidic and Rio, along with Van der Sar, were a huge part of their defensive record that year. And then midfield, Nani, Carrick, Fletcher, and Cristiano Ronaldo with Ryan Giggs and, of course, Carlos Tevez.
I remember that game. I remember I was there.
Oh, so you were there. You came to this game.
Nice. There's a big age discrepancy in the room there. So you were all kids watching the game. I was at the game.
Interesting.
Gary Neville actually started at centre back.
Is it?
But they had to move him back to right back because John Carew, who's obviously a big boy, was just completely bullying him.
Yeah.
So Gary Neville actually started that game at centre back, and he must not have played centre back for like maybe 10 years or something. Yeah. It's funny you just mentioned that Gerrard celebration. Do you remember on Soccer AM? When they used to, someone used to come on and do a celebration and say, "This is what I want the footballers to do today." Yeah. It was that kiss was the Soccer AM celebration that way. That's why Gerrard did it, and I've always remembered that for some reason. I don't know why, but whenever Villa play Man U, I just get filled with dread, even now, because whatever Manchester United are doing, however well we're doing, whatever good team we have, or if we're bad, we're good. we just cannot beat Manchester United. It just never happens. You'd have seen it on the last day of last season when Man U got nothing to play for. Villa to qualify for the Champions League, we lose 2-0. So any time I say that we're playing Manchester United, it doesn't matter what's going on, even though they probably had a
So even on a day like today, coming off 2 really big losses, the mood is starting to sour. In that lineup, you're still feeling that this is Man United and anything could happen.
Even more so. I think if things are going badly for Man U, I even more expect that Villa won't do anything. At the time of filming now, we're playing Man U in a few weeks and obviously going really well. I just know the dance. I've done the dance so many times. And Villa were going okay at that point. Like, we had desires to qualify for the Champions League. Yep. But I think we just started to hit a bit of a sticky patch. We just got knocked out of Europe because we played the reserves. We were 2-0 up a couple of games before at home against Stoke. Looking that would have took us third, I think, at the time.
And don't forget, you had lost 5-0 to Liverpool yourselves.
Yeah, we were in the midst. We drew that Stoke game and it just completely derailed our season. So I think I'd have gone there just expecting the worst, to be honest.
But you look at the team, to be fair, right? It's a really good Aston Villa team. This is the Villa side I kind of grew up on, right? Brad Friedel in goal. This day in particular had Luke Young at right back, Carlos Cuellar, and Curtis Davis, Nicky Shorey, and then that midfield 4 of Milner, Petrov, Barry, and Ashley Young. That's a top midfield 4 with Carew and Iqbal Lahore up front.
Yeah, I remember playing a lot of FIFA at that point.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a lot older than you. But
I was FIFA 09.
We were playing FIFA too. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you were probably better than me at that point as well. But like, I remember just being Villa with Iqbal Lahore up front and Young on the wing is an absolute joy. Yeah. It is an absolute joy to behold.
I mean, when you look at that team as well, though, like, as I said, like, that's the one where, you know, when you talk about the traditional top 4. You're talking about Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea.
Yes. Yeah.
That, I think this was the first disruptors in a way that felt like they're going to really like challenge it. I know in the past there was like Leeds.
I think Everton had a little run as well.
Yeah,
too.
Everton. Yeah, no, you're right. Everton did have a run actually. So that's a good point. But I looked at this team and they had everything you needed because we're even talking about Ashley Young's. Well, Ashley Young's here as well, but this was when he really started making an ascendancy.
I think he would have won the Young Player of the Year this season.
Yeah. And this is when he really started like ascending into a proper player. This is the Gareth Barry that was going to go to Liverpool at one stage, right? So this team was like a proper side. So coming up against Aston Villa at this moment, after those results, like against Liverpool, it's a scary proposition at this stage. And it looked like we were kind of, you know what they say, bottling it. It looked like we were bottling it. And that Liverpool team, I know they didn't win anything like in that iteration of them, but that was a top side you're talking about. So them breathing down our necks, the biggest rivals, it felt like that was the first season that I ever saw Man United and Liverpool going at it for the title. So coming up against this Martin O'Neill Villa side, that it was scary at this point.
Tricky opposition, 100%.
There was a big problem here though, because Villa up until January were absolutely flying, and then Martin Laursen, the captain at the time, he centre back, he got injured and ruled out for the rest of the season, and he actually had to retire.
Wow!
And it just made like such a difference. Like Davis and Cuellar were fine when they were next to Laursen, but the two of them together, there wasn't really that dominant leading centre back there, which is what Laursen was. So I think we started to struggle at the back, whereas before when we had Laursen, we were keeping clean sheets and doing well.
That's one of them things that, like, you know, when you're looking back at games that you don't remember these moments. Do you know what I mean? Like you saying that Laursen had to retire, like these are them times that, you know, we're nearly 20 years on or whatever, and you think to yourself, I don't even remember that moment of Laursen having to retire, and it's such a big thing for you guys' season.
I mean, you look at the United team in particular, right? Big players missing from that. Do you think, just looking at that 11, the biggest 2 misses are the 2 centre backs?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about that season, 08-09 season. Man United set a record for 14 clean sheets in a row. The basis of Manchester United that season was our defensive prowess. Cristiano Ronaldo was in and out that season. I think he played about 20-something games.
He missed the start of the season.
He finished just behind Nicolas Anelka, I believe it was, for the Golden
18,
Boot.
I think,
But 18 goals, 19 goals is what you got you the Golden Boot that year. So it was a low-scoring season. Defense was what we were based off. And we got exposed. I don't want to keep talking about Liverpool, but we got exposed in that game. And for them to be out, and you're playing a young Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans went on to be a very solid Premier League centre-half, right? Did well with Leicester as well. But I look at it and I think to myself, John O'Shea, Gary Neville, Johnny Evans and Evra, in a moment like this, you're definitely scared about it.
Same problem, isn't it? I guess if Johnny Evans or O'Shea are playing next to Vidic or Ferdinand, you're okay. But when you've got them together, you don't have that dominant centre half, and you're up against someone who's a monster in the air, like John Carew. That there's going to be difficulties.
100%.
So the nerves are evident throughout the stadium, right? This feels like a seismic moment in the title race and the race for Europe and for the Premier League in general. How much of a weight is lifted off your shoulders when 15 minutes in, Cristiano Ronaldo scores that indirect free kick? And by the way, right, for me, that's such a unique goal.
Yes.
Right? Because the way it comes about is a back pass to Brad Friedel, which is like, you don't really see that too often. And then the way Cristiano Ronaldo hits that ball, that is so far into the top corner, it's ridiculous.
How often do we see indirect goals? You don't really see indirect free kicks.
Especially in the box.
Yeah, it's such a rare thing. I remember like when you were younger, like when I was like a kid, and then like somebody would do a back pass. Oh, it's a back pass, and we'll have it. Like it was a regular thing when you're a kid on Sunday league, Saturday league. But to see it at pro level, it was actually very, very rare. But the way he hit that ball, like people are going to think, okay, you're closer than a penalty, so it's easy. It's not easy considering the amount of players that are there, the amount of players that are about to run at you.
That's why they usually don't score them, right? The wall usually is just 10 players in front of it.
And he hit it so hard. He hit it in his knuckleball fashion, but he actually hit it with the inside of his foot. So it was such a bullet. And I proper remember Andy Gray talking the commentary around it. And he was like, that ain't easy. You know, that ain't easy. Like that hit, the way he hit, it was a lovely goal, man. A proper Cristiano Ronaldo in Man United.
And when you look especially at this United team, right? No Rooney. Tevez had an on-off season relative to what we knew Carlos Tevez could do. This was really Cristiano Ronaldo. Get us out of a tough situation here, right?
This is the Ronaldo that I know and love, man. Like, I know he went on to do legendary things at Real Madrid, but contrary to popular belief, he was the best player in the world at this point. People saw him as the best player in the world. I know, listen, it became messy and all that type of stuff, but at this point, you're looking at the best player in the world, and this is the one that I love. This is the one that was also a showman. He was so quick, he was so clutch, and you knew, even if we have a weak defense or whatever, you know, if you have Cristiano Ronaldo on that pitch in a Premier League fixture, feels like we're up 1-0 before we've even walked out onto the pitch. So I miss them days with this guy, man.
This is where like I'm here today, basically, to be fodder, because you're here to talk about unbelievable footballer, Ballon d'Or, Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm here to remember, like, Villa going to Old Trafford. Let's do something silly. Why not? We're at Old Trafford. This is what Aston Villa do at Old Trafford. You do a stupid back pass, like you get, and you just know in the crowd,
it's
in that away end.
As well to the back pass, right? Friedel's coming out for it.
No, just kicks it to him so randomly.
You just know as soon as that mistake is made, you think there's a goal on here. And then even like the wall and stuff, and the messing around, we're getting a man back on the line and then running back in and out, like Nicky Shorey, I think it was. Like you just know something's going to happen, and as good a finish as it was, it's just like, for me, it's like a vintage gift for Manchester United at Old Trafford.
But you talk about it seems inevitable. 15 minutes later, you guys get yourself back in the game. And when we're really looking at, to start the game, maybe the question marks in this team, we talk about the center backs. John Carew exposes Man United's flaws in central defense because he absolutely bullies his defender with that header, right?
It was Gary Neville.
Yeah, that's why he had to move.
Gary Neville went centre half,
Yeah, Carew, he'd be up and down, but like, not in terms of work rate. in terms of form, I think his work rate was bigger when he was out on Broad Street on a Friday.
Allegedly.
But when John Carew was at it, he was a monster. He was the pedigree. When we signed him, in fact, I think we were middle of the road.
Was
Premier League.
Valencia or Lyon at that point?
Yeah,
it was Lyon. So Villa at that point, somehow, I don't know how they managed to do it. Martin O'Neill. They managed to just do, swaps. Yeah. They never happen anymore, really. Just straight swap, John Carew for Milan Baros. And the Villa fans just fell in love with him straight away. Because he's a bit of an enigma, wasn't he? A bit of a party boy, John Carew. But on his day, he was hellish for the defenders to play against. And Gary Neville won't have fancied that day, playing centre-back for the first time in 10, 15 years, as we've said, up against a target man, essentially. That's not Gary Neville's game, is he? So I remember probably just being surprised in the away end that we'd managed to equalise. But that we've talked about this Villa team. Take away probably the defence that without Laursen maybe looks a little bit suspect. There's some really, really good players in that team, and that was at the point where Villa are starting to disrupt. But you just know the other clubs are starting to look at your players as well. So like I'm watching Ashley Young play for Villa. So Alex Ferguson's in the dugout watching Ashley Young thinking, I'm gonna have some of that. I'll have some of that. I'm gonna sign him in a couple of years. So it's hard because we didn't have the financial power that all the other teams, a bit like now, didn't have the financial power that the other teams had. When you get a good player, you're just worried about losing them, and that's what happened.
Second half comes, and it goes from bad to worse, Cam. We're looking at Gary Neville for the first one. We keep talking about the center backs, but I'm going to look at Edwin van der Sar for the second one here, man. He was unbelievable this season, right? Unbelievable. But this is a moment to forget from him. I mean, how Gabi Agbonlahor, of all players, manages to out-jump the goalkeeper. It's so unforgivable.
You know, Agbonlahor actually had a decent record at Old Trafford.
Very good.
Yeah, he actually used to score goals at Old
the
Trafford.
Winner against them a few seasons later.
Yeah. And listen, he talks about it still to this day.
Doesn't let us forget about it.
His analysis on Man United is super. It's like he hates us. I don't know why. You had a good time at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
But honestly, look, it happens, right? If you're looking at anybody that you probably not going to point a finger at that season, it's probably Edwin van der Sar. You know what I mean? I thought he had a fantastic season, and I think he got in the team of the year that year, of course. And you look at him and you think to yourself, in that moment, though, it's such a big moment. And as I said, it just goes to show how much nerves, how much like mentality plays a part in even top football players. Because if that was game week 6 of the season, Van der Sar's catching that. In fact, Agbonlahor has probably ended up on the floor. You know what I mean? But then in this moment, you're just a little bit slow to it, and Agbonlahor gets in front of him, and it just felt like when it rains, it pours. Like, how can Man United be on the verge of a title race to lose 3 games in a row? Like, that is just, that just can't happen. And as I said, confidence is such a big thing. And I'm not saying that the Liverpool game knocked his confidence, but it is just them sly, nervy moments, which is the fine margin between winning leagues and losing leagues. And it almost happened there.
It did feel like Van der Sar, like the word you would use to describe him, is safe, right?
100%.
So of all players to say, a mistake's going to come from, Van der Sar seems to be the last one. But you were at the ground. Did you seem, I know, obviously in the away end, but did you almost feel like a sense around the ground that nerves were starting to kind of rile up? The longer United went without scoring a goal, you almost felt like, we could get something out of this.
You could definitely tell that it's edgy, because in years gone by, I don't think Villa even went ahead at Old Trafford. It just wasn't really something that happened. And like you say, Van der Sar is one of the most reliable goalkeepers that's ever been in football in general, not just the Premier League, just in football. And I remember being in the away end. There must have been about 3,000 of us, and you're elated. You go nuts. You 2-1 up at Old Trafford. It's not like now. Nowadays you'd be thinking, VAR gonna disallow that, and you may be a bit nervous to celebrate. But in those days, you could celebrate when the ball hit the back of the net. But then there's a realisation that, again, this is Villa against Manchester United. There's such a thing as going ahead too early. And I think we probably just about hit that mark of going ahead too early. There's a lot of the game
about
left.
60 minutes, maybe you needed 10, 15 minutes.
You need later, because Manchester United at that point are managed by Sir Alex Ferguson. You know, they're famous for coming back, winning games, scoring late goals. There's still loads of fantastic players on the pitch for Manchester United. So initially, I'd have been absolutely delighted celebrating my heart out at Old Trafford. I think I was really hungover that day as well. I think I'd been at a wedding.
John Carew, huh?
Yeah, But then you're like, as players as well, you're 2-1 up at Old Trafford. You probably start to edge back and sit back. And I don't think it was maybe the worst thing in the world for Manchester United to go 2-1 down at that point for them.
You mentioned the comebacks, though, but I think one thing when I attribute Man United comebacks to is super subs, right? Because in the past, you look at the treble-winning team, you have Solskjaer and Sheringham. This team in particular typically had Berbatov or Tevez or Rooney or Ronaldo, so there was always one of them to come off the bench. But we keep going back to this lineup. We're looking at the starting 11 and the players missing, but even on the bench, Cam, there's a lot of young players on this bench. Of course, the two that come on, and Welbeck and Macheda, who we will obviously talk about in a bit. But I mean, we're looking at Eckersley off the bench as well. It's not a bench where you look at and think to yourself, he could come on and grab a goal, or he could come on and cause some damage, right?
And that is why when we were looking at it in this moment, it really did feel like first 11 or nothing. So going 2-1 down, like you're talking about youth players from the academy. It didn't feel like they're going to... Look, I know Manchester United, this is a tradition, right? But it still felt like you needed something from Ronaldo, from Ryan Giggs, from Tevez, from Nani to do something. So when you're going 2-1 down, that is when now... You know, when your stomach starts bubbling and starts like the butterflies and I need to go to the toilet all of a sudden. that is why, because you look at the bench, there's no superstars on the bench, but that's why Cristiano Ronaldo at that moment was the best player in the world, because that second goal pulls us out again. It's kind of like clutch moment, pulling us out of the dirt, gets the ball, hits it off his left foot.
I think it's one of his most underrated United goals, by the way.
It proper is, and it's one of them ones that just go under the radar because of the Macheda moment. But Cristiano Ronaldo in that moment, without him there, it's kind of like a Edin Dzeko's goal when Aguero scores the Aguero moment, but you forget Edin Dzeko had to score, and that's what it feels like with that Cristiano Ronaldo moment. Left foot, bottom corner, Brad Friedel on goal, who was the top goal scorer from distance into the bottom corner, and it was such a moment that I'm not gonna lie, when that ball hit the back of the net when Ronaldo scored, then I started to feel like we're gonna win this game. We can win this game. Like that's when you start feeling, you know, your manager is Sir Alex Ferguson. You know it's Old Trafford. Did you see the way we celebrated that?
I think I was just about to mention Ronaldo's celebration in that moment.
Relief.
Yeah, relief, and almost.
Come on, you know what I mean? That was Man United, man. That was the real Man United, you know?
Is that when the dread starts kicking in?
This is genuinely true. I remember it like it was yesterday, right? So we're winning 2-1 in the away end, and I'm with my best mate, and I remember him turning to me and saying, Ronaldo's been quiet today. Mate, within 30 seconds, he scored that goal. And it just must be, at that point, like, I know you lose and you're saying you've got the butterflies in your tummy, but you can't have. Because Manchester United fans, I remember being in New York a few years later watching Villa play. I was on holiday, I was watching Villa play Manchester United, and we were 2-0 up at half-time.
I know the game you're talking about.
I was sat at the bar watching it, and there was a Manchester United fan, and I started talking to him, and I was thinking, this guy's not even worried.
Yeah.
He's not even concerned by what's happened here. And I was speaking to him at half-time, and he just said, I think we'll still win this. 15 minutes after kick-off
It
the
might have been
second
like
half.
that, honestly.
Hernandez, I think he might have come on at half-time, Hernandez. He scored a hat-trick in about 15 minutes. So just as a Manchester United fan, even though you're saying you were nervous, you must know at this point what's going to happen.
You know, it's the elitist thing. It may not make sense to you, but it's like a pretty girl that complains that she ain't got a new bag, you know? Like, why are you complaining about that? But this is the struggles that they go through, you know? So, you know, honestly, when I was looking at that, I was scared. But as I said, when Ronaldo scored, the way Old Trafford celebrated, the way he celebrated with that passion and it felt like anger.
You don't get that from Ronaldo often, right?
That's the thing. You don't get that. It felt like anger. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? So from that moment, I thought it would come. Now, I didn't think it would come off the bench. I thought it's going to be one of our superstars
Let's
again.
talk about those two substitutions, right?
Yeah.
What do you know to this point, Cam? One of them is still kicking, honestly.
Yeah.
Shout out to Danny Welbeck because he's carved out an outstanding career for himself. But what do you know at this point in April of 2009 about Danny Welbeck and Federico Macheda?
Now, Danny Welbeck, obviously, you know a little bit about him because of the Carrington. He had scored for Man United at that point. Yeah, he announced and stuff. Actually, a funny story is that when he scored that goal against Stoke, it was his debut goal,
the screamer,
and he celebrated and he did this, or like he was like shrugged his shoulder, like like it's an everyday thing. I remember he scored against Derby, I think a week later. So Alex Ferguson told him off. He didn't like his celebration. He told him off. He didn't like it. Like, you ain't made it to be doing all of this type of stuff. So I knew about Danny Welbeck, all the videos of when he used to get Van Nistelrooy was teaching him
even
how
at that point, like
you knew about Danny Welbeck, right? So that was obviously a great story, another Carrington story. What I can tell you about Federico Macheda? Absolutely nothing. I didn't even know him like that. I didn't know him. You know what I mean? I didn't know
he looked
who
like
this...
Cristiano Ronaldo's younger brother.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
like,
the way I looked at him.
He had the little spiky hair thing. Like, I'm telling you, everyone in school that had Ronaldo's complexion started doing that hairstyle. So he genuinely just looked like someone like in year 11 that just found his way onto the pitch. Honestly, like, I had no idea who Macheda was. And wow, like, listen, history after that, now I know who he is.
You know what's interesting about that though, right? Is it was very nearly Welbeck. There's a chance minutes before Macheda where Welbeck goes through and nearly scores, and he could have been.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what he's gone on to do is amazing anyways. But just imagine the story if it is Welbeck. And then that kind of shows you the fine margins in football and how a legacy is created or defined. That could have been Welbeck's moment.
And you know, the crazy part about this moment, even still thinking about this moment, gives you like goosebumps, right? The scare. Yeah, maybe not for you. But the moment that is so like insane about this Macheda goal is, I'm not sure if anybody remembers, but he tried that move about 2 seconds before. So the ball came to him.
From Gary Neville,
Gary Neville passes it across to him. He tries this Cruyff turn to try and hit it, and the centre half tackles him. The ball finds its way to Ryan Giggs. And Ryan Giggs, who so often in the biggest games, in the biggest moments for Manchester United, is ever present, gets the ball, looks down the side, sees Macheda, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm Ryan Giggs in that moment, so late in the game, to even have the trust to give it to this young lad is massive, especially after he kind of just like maybe messed up a move. Passes it to him, and he does the exact same move, and this time, the ball just flies into the back of the net. And honestly, that's up there with one of the great Old Trafford moments. And we know how good it was also because of what Martin Tyler, Macheda!
That's one of the greatest commentary moments
his
ever. His
voice cracking, like the story around that is just so good. Like he couldn't even celebrate. Darren Fletcher's pulling him to
Johnny
the
Evans
ground. Johnny Evans screaming to the camera.
You're having a great time, aren't you?
You know, I'm sorry, but you have to come down memory lane with me. Even when Johnny Evans screams to the camera, it felt a little bit like
about that. I could hear that.
That's
still.
for you, Steven Gerrard. That's a bit. I wish he kissed the camera. You know what I mean? Honestly, that moment is just special.
You said you knew very little about Macheda.
Yeah.
I obviously knew even less about Macheda at that point, but let me tell you, by the end of the game, I hated that guy.
That was your Gerrard moment.
I still hate that guy's guts now, because that was soul destroying at Old Trafford. Like in football, when you go to a game, one of the worst feelings in the world is when you're in an away end and you just know as soon as someone's hit something, that's it. I can picture the angle. I was looking at the game where the away end is. You're like behind it. I knew as soon as he hit it, it was going in, and the noise. Like it's almost like it's coming down on you as an away fan. Like the ground, the world's like closing in on you. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And this is a guy who didn't do very much in his career, really. Let's face it. I don't remember him. He scored the next game, didn't he, for Manchester United?
The winner against Sunderland.
Yeah, he came on or started the next game and he scored. And then he did nothing for 2 years. But let me tell you, a few years later at Villa Park, Alex Ferguson dragged him out the cupboard. We're 2-0 up yet again at Villa Park against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Who comes on and scores? Probably his last goal for Manchester United. Bloody Macheda.
2-2 with Vidic. Yeah.
Honestly, that guy, get in the bin. I hate that guy.
Do you know, it's crazy because I feel like if you think about games that encapsulate Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United, this is one of them. Like, even the fact that it's somebody, as you said, Lyes, earlier, it's somebody off the bench. It's a young player as well. Like, Ferguson always trusted the young players.
I mean,
always gave them opportunities.
He took off Carlos Tevez with 3 minutes left in the game for a youngster.
Nani and Carlos Tevez coming off
so
the game.
So does that kind of summarize Fergie right there? Right?
It does. Youth, big decisions, last minute goals, back and forth game. It just that was just Sir Alex Ferguson. This is the perfect representation of him, man.
Just managed on instinct, didn't he, Ferguson? Like, it's almost like he had a hunch. Yeah. And he's such a football god. It's like he just knew, if I bring this guy on, he's going to do something. He's going to score for me. That's almost what separated him, and I think separates him from some a lot of the managers that have been at Manchester United since. He just operated on instinct. He just knew, he could see how a game was going to unfold, and he knew what he had to do to drag Manchester United over the line. Like, in days where people talk about players dragging someone over the line, Ferguson just used to drag Manchester United over the line every time.
Yeah. It's crazy. I've heard some of the former players talking about that moment as well, and even us saying we don't know about Macheda, they didn't know too much either. He's just come train with the first team every now and again, and they said, he was a decent finisher. But at this moment, it was like an announcement to them as well. So that's what's so incredible about it.
As kids, after watching a game, the first thing you want to do is go in the backyard or go with your friends to kind of recreate what you saw happen. I can speak for myself, but was that one of those moments where you're in the backyard straight away, practicing that little pirouette, top corner?
I'm telling you, my neighbors probably hate me because the amount of shots I was hitting against that fence. Yeah, listen, pow, pow, pow. Everybody, listen, I was getting my sister to lay me off. You're turning around. We ain't got the goal nets in my one. We're hitting it against the fence and going to school as well. Trying that. Everybody is trying that in school. Trying to just do this little Cruyff turn and strike, and you feel like that's what you should do. When you're a kid at that age, that's what you should do. You should go out and replicate that. But it's not only that, not only trying these things. I remember going onto the internet and how many times I watched that over. Every single platform that potentially show. We didn't have Twitter and stuff them days. So you're going on like Team Talk, you're going on, what's the other one? Goal. You're going on these platforms and just looking at that goal over and over and over again. And it was just a moment you'll never forget.
I mean, I was 23, so it would have been a bit weird for me to go in the garden and start recreating a goal. But I definitely wouldn't go in the garden and recreate that moment. Honestly, genuinely, when you said I was coming here today, that's when I think of like bad moments I've had at a Villa game. That is like probably right up there.
I was going to ask, what was the journey back home like after that one?
Quiet, very, very quiet. It was me, my mate, and my dad and his dad. I don't think anyone would have spoke to each other on the way home. Because that's as from the Villa perspective as well. That's when you start to realise like there's a difference between like the teams that are going for the Champions League and us, and you know, I've seen us play in the Champions League now a long time later, but at that point it just felt like such a dream and something I really wanted to experience, but you just knew at that point that it was starting to slip away.
Yeah, I mean, especially with that crop of players, right? I mean, I'd love to ask you the question, if you compare that era, maybe not this exact 11, but that era of Aston Villa compared to this era. Obviously, one has managed to make the Champions League dream come true, but when you kind of compare and contrast, what are the big similarities and differences, and maybe what do you prefer? Who did you like more?
I mean, to be fair, I loved that team. There was quite a lot of young English players coming to Villa at the time. We were like quite the destination for young players to come. If you come to Villa, play well under Martin O'Neill, you'll get loads of days off because we don't do much training. You'll probably get yourself into the England squad as well. So we were an attractive proposition.
Was it Marlon Harewood?
Marlon Harewood, super sub Marlon. I don't know if he'd have been on the bench that day, but let me tell you, Martin didn't want to bring him on, did he? He didn't come off the bench that day to try and salvage something for us. But I got to say that the team that we've got now and the manager that we have now, the manager
is... that's the difference.
He's the manager, because that's a good team.
Yeah.
If Unai Emery was managing that team, we'd have got into the Champions League.
You
because
reckon?
the man is just a genius. He's the messiah. I don't have a single bad word or criticism of Unai Emery at all.
I'd actually love to look at a Villa combined 11 if you take this era. Again, not exactly this 11 compared to this one, because I think there's a few players that definitely have a case to get into this one. I mean, definitely the forwards, I would say. Brad Friedel now compared to current day. I mean, maybe Martinez a few years ago, I would take him, but I think Friedel was a really good goalkeeper back in the day.
Friedel's probably a Premier League legend, whereas Martinez, for what he's done for Villa, and obviously won the World Cup as well, he's probably like a bit more of a worldwide legend. But I think there'd be a few that would be in a conversation to get in the team. There's certainly a couple there that I wouldn't mind in the team now. At peak Ashley Young, I wouldn't mind him playing with Morgan Rogers in you
know what's crazy, by the way? I think there's 4 players that are really still playing and like relevant in football. I don't know where Macheda is, unfortunately, but
in Greece at the moment,
you look at Cristiano Ronaldo,
look
at Danny Welbeck, you look at Ashley Young, and you look at James Milner.
It's crazy.
Imagine thinking back then, 2009, that's 16 years later, they would still be kicking in English football.
You know what I actually find crazy as well? It actually looks so weird looking at how little subs there are. You know, now in fact, one sub, they get at Old Trafford, if that was in this day and age, now it's 4 subs. That's 4 subs these days. Even for us only bringing on two subs, that feels so weird to see now.
I have a question that we have questions that we ask for every guest, right? And one of them is, what was the thing that surprised you the most watching this game back? Is it that looking at the bench and seeing 5 players?
100%.
It used to be a thing whenever I played FIFA. It's like, who am I leaving off the bench this week?
Like it's weird to see that only 2. Obviously, them is the days that you can only make 3 subs, right? But it just feels weird to see that, because I feel like nowadays Ruben Amorim are just bringing on centre back for the sake of it. I got extra sub, centre back for centre back. So those days you had to be really methodical with what your subs are going to do, and of course our subs were a masterstroke from Sir Alex Ferguson. So that's definitely something. But not only that, 4-4-2. 4-4-2. 2 teams are playing 4-4-2. That is something that we would not see. I would love to see the last time a Premier League team, 2 teams in the Premier League played 4-4-2 against each other. It's probably going back to this era. Yeah, you know what I mean?
You know what's funny, actually, nowadays, if you look, because out of possession is such a big thing, right? When you look at how teams set up, every team now out of possession plays 4-4-2. Villa. Every team in the Prem, they set up in a 4-4-2 when they don't have the ball. But back in the day, this is a staple. I mean, one of my questions as well too is, what is the most 2009 thing about this game? It might be the formation.
It's got to be, right? Surely. What do you think?
AIG for me, I don't know, screams 2009 as well.
Yeah, the kits are quite I love that Villa away shirt, actually. That kind of, I don't even know. I think I'm a little bit colourblind.
Was it Acorn that year?
Yeah, so Villa had that was a charity sponsor, kids charity, sponsored them for a couple of years, which was a nice touch at the time. I think the most 2009 kind of thing for me is that like I look at that team and think it's really good, and then maybe 2-3 years later that team was just completely dismantled.
Yeah,
and we just were never as good again for a long time until Unai Emery came.
Was there anything about the Villa side that you maybe would have forgotten about? We talked to Cam about maybe the subs, but was there anything from this game that you didn't remember?
I'd forgotten that we didn't know the back pass rule. I'd forgot. It feels like a pretty.
It's 2009. It's not 1909.
It feels like a pretty basic thing that players should know in that time. I'd forgotten how bad that goal was. That first goal, like just giving them a leg up straight
Was it Milner?
away.
It was Milner who passed it back
with baby face, by the way, proper baby face going on.
He started playing when he was like 16, didn't he? And he probably was only about 24, 25 at that point.
I think he won Young Player of the Year the season following after that.
You know,
jeez.
The most 2009 thing for me, like, I know I've spoken about him enough, but it's Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United. It's the wrist tape, it's the red boots that he was wearing, the Mercurials that everybody was buying. It's the tape on his ankles, the half he rolls it up just like this. Like, it was like a model. Like, when there's some players you think about Thierry Henry's socks up and stuff like that. Ronaldo just had this image where the hairstyle, he just had this image where it was just, I don't know, just for a few years in this country especially, it was just so untouchable. And another thing is actually, which is funny, and me and Lyes actually, we did a top 10 players to make appearances with Cristiano Ronaldo, and there was one name that we just couldn't believe, and that's John O'Shea.
Yeah, I think he was second.
John O'Shea is up there in Ronaldo's top. He was like really high up in the players that have played with Cristiano Ronaldo the most. Wow. And you wouldn't think it because you think about Gary Neville, Rio, Vidic, all these names. John O'Shea was always playing, always playing.
That was the last time Ronaldo scored a free kick, wasn't it? 2009. if I remember correctly.
Feels that way. Obviously, the easy answer, I guess, to this is Macheda. But is there a different moment for you guys that maybe changed this game, a catalyst that impacted the game more than anything?
I think you're right to call the Ronaldo goal.
Yeah.
Like you say, goals kind of get lost in the fury of like the winner. That goal was absolutely massive, and it was literally out of nothing as well. It came from nowhere. As much as I'm saying I'm expecting it as a Villa fan who expects the worst at Old Trafford, you were struggling at that point. You weren't creating many chances. It kind of felt like it needed a moment of magic from somewhere. And as good as Macheda's goal was, that was a good strike as well.
Yeah,
that's for me. It's honestly like it's like the chop in as well too. Pretends on his right, cuts it on his left. What's the biggest managerial decision? Come on, guys, it's got to be just bring on Macheda. Yeah. But I think taking off Tevez for 87 minutes. I think that takes balls, man.
That's huge because Carlos Tevez isn't one of them players that relies on service either. Carlos Tevez can score a free kick. Carlos Tevez can drop deep, turn, hit the ball top corner from 25 yards.
But I think you're overcomplicating it. You're looking at what he can do. If I have to think of who's going to win a game between Tevez or Macheda or Welbeck, I'm Tevez.
And you know what the big surprise is about that? It's not only the fact that it's Tevez, like the player quality, which I was going on, but Ferguson was known for taking off centre halves, taking off fullback. We're going gung ho for him to go pretty much like for like. That's actually like really incredible for him to say, I'm going to take off my striker, but he's going to keep Fletcher.
Because there was a game actually that season with Spurs, right, where we came down from 2-0 to 5-2, where he had Tevez, Ronaldo, Berbatov, and Rooney.
Yeah,
didn't have to do that this game.
When you think he kept on Johnny Evans is still on the pitch when we're chasing the game. O'Shea, Gary Neville is still on the pitch when we're chasing it. That for me is the big thing. The fact that he went like for like, and that's so unlike Ferguson in a way. So for it to come off, now you're saying genius. If it didn't, we'll be in the Man United forum saying Fergie's lost it, mate. He's lost it, innit? So yeah, man.
Who was the unsung hero of this game? Maybe the player that didn't get mad plaudits from what you remember, but watching stuck out to you like a sore thumb.
Personally, for me, I think it's always been the case in his career at Man United. It's Ryan Giggs for me. It's Ryan Giggs. I think with Ryan Giggs, like, nowadays it's hard to talk about him. He's had a lot of off the pitch stuff, but as a football player, he was simply incredible. Yeah. Like, he was simply incredible. And the fact that he's gone through so many transitions and transformations as a player. When you were growing up, he was a flying winger. And at my era of growing up, he was slowing down a little bit, still playing on the wing. But at this stage, he could drop into centre mid. He can play second striker. He can pop up on the left. He can pop up on the right. And as I said, there was a time, especially in this season, where I didn't feel safe if Ryan Giggs isn't playing.
PFA Player of the Year this year.
Yeah, I didn't feel safe. I'm like, we have younger players, we have Rooney, all these guys, but it just didn't feel right if Ryan Giggs wasn't playing. We just didn't have this sense of control. We didn't have this sense of, like, I don't know, just that experience on the pitch. And you saw it again, that pass that he plays to Macheda, excellent. And then you look at the following season, he plays a pass similar to Michael Owen for that moment.
Yeah.
Ryan Giggs is. I always urge people to go back and watch United's greatest moments. He's all over
His
them.
fingerprints are all over them. Yeah.
I think I'm looking at that United team, and like if I was to pick a Premier League 11 of all time,
They got a few of them.
I think like I'd have Gary Neville in there. Obviously not at that point; he was struggling a bit, but overall he'd be in my team.
Yeah.
Ronaldo would be in there, and Giggs would probably be in there as well. My unsung heroes, poor Nigel Reo-Coker there. You know, all the other subs are getting applauded coming off the bench. Nigel Reo-Coker, I imagine he's been brought on to try and see the game out, protect the lead. we've lost 3.
He's a pundit these days. Give us your 2 cents, man. What were you thinking? Where were you when that Macheda goal went in? How good of it was your view? What could have been the impact for Villa if they win this game and for some way, shape, or form find themselves in the Champions League the following season? You talk about how a few years later the squad was decimated. But if you make the Champions League that following season, what does Villa look like?
Well, you know, we went from being a team that was top 6 3 years in a row under Martin O'Neill to a team that was like fighting relegation season after season and eventually went down. I think at that point, if Villa qualify for the Champions League, there's no PSR or SCR in those days. Like Villa can spend money, and they would have got money for being in the Champions League. I think it really, really changes things. I think they probably don't go down to the Championship. I think it's at this point, you know, not qualifying for the Champions League, where the owner kind of thought, this is good, this is hard. We're not going to do it. If we haven't done it this season, we're not going to do it. And he kind of held back and stopped putting the money in. So it probably just turned around the whole club really in a negative way, not qualifying for the Champions League that season.
Maybe keeps a few players at the club as well too. Obviously we know Young and Milner were gone within the next 2 seasons. Gareth Barry signed for City the following year. That's
a fair statement. We lost so many good players in like the late, I don't know what's it, noughties, in the early noughties, like late 2000s. We lost so many good players.
The game's changed a lot because, like, back then, big clubs just, you're having a good season, thank you. You know, everybody used to take. Now, the smaller clubs, 100 million, please. Like, if you want our player, pay us 100 million, as you know, with the Jack Grealish situation. So it was a different time there where you could just be plucking away from the smaller teams, and you knew any of these teams that were emerging, their players are going to go within a year or two. It would be a completely different side.
I'm going to leave the Solskjaer moment out because I feel like that's the obvious answer here when we're talking about the greatest late goals for Man United. That's obviously the number one. But if we look aside from that, where does this rank in terms of last minute or important late goals in Fergie's era?
We've had so many, innit?
Michael Owen, obviously. Van Persie had that freaking against City that one year.
That's in April, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
This moment has to be, I think, number one for me.
After
Oli, like, this has to be number one because of the magnitude of the game. You know, what it meant going on, like what we've gone on to do in terms of winning the league after that. You can pinpoint this moment to Macheda and say, listen, he became a cult hero in that exact moment. One goal has just turned him into a legendary moment for us. We'll forever remember him. The Michael Owen moment, it felt just as good. I'm not going to lie. The Michael Owen moment felt so good. Like, that was euphoria as well. But we didn't win the league that year. And in the end, you can just say you won the game. It was just a game to beat the rivals. But this one, what it meant for Manchester United and that season, I just don't think it could be topped, obviously, other than what Oli went and done.
You mentioned, obviously, goals that led to titles, which is why you have it so high. I guess we're playing a bit of what if here, hypotheticals. If Macheda doesn't score that goal, say the game finishes 2-2, Man United are now 2 points ahead of Liverpool, but with the momentum for both sides just completely flipped. Does Man United still win that title?
I think maybe at that time, just because of the Ferguson factor, like Liverpool have got Benitez at that point who hasn't done it. I'd say they probably just still find a way, because in that era, that's just how we just always felt with them. There was always would always find a way. And at that point, Liverpool just couldn't get over the line. A bit like what people have said about Arsenal over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Liverpool just couldn't quite get over the line. That Carragher speaks about it. They had good teams, but they never just quite could get there or be better than Manchester United. But that was a good Liverpool team. You know, Torres leading the line.
87 points, I think. Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a total, isn't it, to not win the league? United just found a way at that point.
The thing with Liverpool was that they drew too many games that year. I think they only lost 1 game in the league that season. They drew like 12.
They only lose 1 game?
Yeah, they drew like 14 games or something like that.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah, they drew something insane, 12 to 14 games. So when you look at that, if we didn't win this game, I think Liverpool might have. Gerrard was on a tear up.
You know what it is? I think we're talking because we're talking really about point tallies and what does the table look like. But I think you have to think about it from a mental point of view as well.
Momentum.
I think what that goal did for Man United from a psyche point of view almost reinvigorated them. Whereas if they don't score that goal, it's like, oh my goodness, 3 games in a row. Liverpool are breathing down our necks.
It was a stab in the heart to Liverpool. They would have been looking at that and thinking,
sure, that's a goal echoed across the country.
Exactly, that goal. So I think if Macheda didn't score that goal, there's a possibility that we wouldn't have won that league. You know, there's a possibility. I'm not gonna, because as well. Remember, we had Champions League as well. We're going to the Champions League final. You know, I think Liverpool would have went on to win it. I think they would have.
Where do you think this ranks in terms of greatest debuts? Super sub debuts.
I can't be topped.
In terms of impact, what he's actually done. He probably weren't even on the pitch that long, was he? But people have probably performed better coming off the bench.
Is there any ones that we can even think of in terms of like coming off the bench and on your debut and doing that?
Oh, I'm struggling. That's a good question.
Off the bench. Oh, that's something I have to think about. I'm not too sure. I remember Danny Rose was even off the bench.
He started
that game. Off the bench. Making an impact like that.
Stuff to think, honestly.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of, really.
At the point of the season when that is in the title running, like that's massive, isn't it? Like,
was that Oscar Bobb's debut against Newcastle?
I think he played. I think he come on a few times. Yeah,
played.
Yeah, he did play.
Macheda, the more context you add to it, it's really just that was
Oscar Bobb moment.
It is a miracle, right? It's actually like, wow, you could replay that game 1,000 different times, and that's the one. It's like Doctor Strange. It's the one reality where it actually happens. Why do you guys think Macheda never kicked on from? I mean, obviously, he had that great moment the next game, and then, as you actually reminded me, he did score a goal against Villa a few seasons back. But what do you think never happened for Macheda? Why do you think he never kicked on from there?
It's tough. You know, one thing Ferguson always prided himself on was forwards, innit? He always wanted a stacked forward line, and we had a lot of talent up front at that point as well. And I think for Macheda, I remember him speaking about it, and he's saying that maybe he could have taken it a bit more seriously. He didn't maybe take it as seriously as he could have. But at the same time, sometimes it's just, you're not good enough. You know, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but sometimes you're just maybe not good enough for the top level, or at the most elite level. Now, him ending up he's only 34 years old right now, you know.
Exactly. He was 17 at this point, right?
Yeah, only 34 years old. So he's in Greece right now. I can't explain why he's slid down the football pyramid so much. But at Manchester United, it's not easy. It's not easy to make it at United. And you have to have special qualities, especially for a side. Someone like Danny Welbeck, for a while, he was just a runner at the football club. Ferguson loved him because he would run his socks off, you know? So if you're a young player like Macheda was, and you ain't got the work rate like a Danny Welbeck, you've got to be Dimitar Berbatov level of quality. And he wasn't, unfortunately. And it's just the way it goes, yeah. It's
almost like he just had his moment, like on his first game, and it's never going to get better than that. Like you sometimes, like what we do as well. Sometimes you'll do something and you'll think, I don't think it's ever going to get any better than that. Obviously today, I don't know whether it's ever going to get any better than that. But I think players who are at the elite academies as well, that are at the elite clubs, I think they maybe sometimes struggle to find themselves, and sometimes they have to go backwards to almost go forwards again. Macheda ended up at Birmingham City, so I think once he's ended up there, once he's ended up at Birmingham City, he thought, right, this is it. I'm not gonna crack it. See you later. Yeah.
Do you think maybe it's a case as well too? Like it all came too quickly for him. Like we talk about Welbeck.
Yeah.
If he scores that goal and he's all of a sudden the hottest name in the game and he's on the front of every newspaper, And Macheda maybe, do you think maybe it was too much too soon for him?
Yeah. I also heard him say that he had like confidence issues as well. Like when he was training with these guys, he's trying to impress. He's becoming over anxious. And again, as I was saying earlier, small margins, you know, at the top level, small margins between making it and not making it. And I just think he just wasn't able to grasp, you know, really grips that moment. We've seen it maybe in different terms and circumstances, but remember Andan Januzaj? Yeah, just a couple seasons later under David Moyes, he smacks a volley in against Sunderland, and we're thinking the sky's the limit. Within 2 seasons, he's gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at Kobbie Mainoo right now. You know, scores in the FA Cup final. He might be gone soon. Like, just things just happen for young players. You just can never predict it.
Take away the fact that he was against my team. It's actually like quite a pure moment as well. You know, he scores that goal, runs into the crowd, and he celebrates with his dad. Like it's actually a really nice moment, except for the fact that he broke my heart.
Yeah.
But if you think also as well that almost you think of the big moments in the Premier League, and that's definitely up there. It's like Aguero. It's like established players that did loads of other stuff in the Premier League. Thierry Henry. Like for him, that's the moment, and that's pretty much all he did.
And for it to be your first moment as well.
Yeah, there's not many other moments like that, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, that is incredible, yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo's time in the Premier League, not as long maybe as an Henry or Salah, but in terms of the impact in such a short amount of time, is anyone even close in terms of impacting the league in the short amount of time he did?
I don't think so, man. I think, you know, if you're talking about maybe the whole complete package of what they did in the league, you can say Thierry Henry is probably the greatest. But when I look at Cristiano Ronaldo, that period, and I think also people kind of downplay the fact that he was in this league from 18 years old. Do we expect him to be putting up record numbers at 18? No, he had to grow into this player. And I feel like sometimes people kind of knock that side of things down like it didn't happen. I mean, he had to grow, and he was the Premier League entertainer at that point. The stepovers, the skills, that's what he was. Then he developed into a phenomenon. Like, he transformed the way we look at this Premier League. Like, the Premier League was a good league, a really good league when Henry was there, 100%. But the globalization of the league came pretty much when Roman Abramovich entered the league. Towards the end of Thierry Henry's peak, into when Cristiano Ronaldo took over, that is when the Premier League was seen as the strongest league in the world, where Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea are going to Champions League semi-finals, Champions League finals nearly every single year. And I think Cristiano Ronaldo, in terms of bringing eyes to this league, is a massive, massive factor. Became the face of Nike. He became, or Nike as they say, became the face of Nike. He was the most marketable player in Premier League history, in my opinion. Maybe David Beckham is up there as well. He's in football history, you know. And to go on to do what he done, a lot of people talk about, you know, he didn't do it long enough. Well, in that time, he's won more titles than most of your guys. He's won more titles than Thierry Henry. He's won more titles than Mohamed Salah. You know, he won Player of the Years. He won Golden Boots. So in that period, he won the Ballon d'Or. So in that period, if you're talking for peak, just peak, I don't think nobody's talking to Cristiano Ronaldo. That 3-year span.
Is he the best player you've ever seen in the Prem?
I think it depends on your age a little bit. So I tend, because I was younger when he was playing, I probably favour Henry. But I agree with everything that you've just said about him. Like he's like a freak. The fact that he's still playing now and everything he's done in his career, he's a one-off. Like I don't think individually I've ever known a player like him. And to go from that 18-year-old who was trying all those stepovers in his first game to being the absolute goal machine that he became. He's a machine. As well, like the way he's worked at his game, worked on his physique, and worked at everything he's gone on to do. He is a freak and a one-off. I think he probably is the best player that the Premier League's ever seen.
I think there's a difference between best and greatest. I think
where he goes as well.
Yeah. I think greatest and best are two different things. Greatest, there's longevity. There's so many things that go into it, but the best player to ever play in this league is Cristiano Ronaldo, in my opinion. He's the best player to play in England. I think you are right. You know, like young player of the year and player of the year at the same time. Like
a few years later, it's him v Messi in La Liga, two best players in the world, isn't it?
Think about the adversity he faced as well. Like Henry goes to every stadium where Thierry Henry, we're in the crowd saying as away fans, everyone loves Henry. All these other Canton, all these guys, but Cristiano Ronaldo, he was getting booed every single stadium he was at. And the mentality for him to just say, do you know what? I'm going to dominate this country. And you guys can continue booing while I lift Premier League titles in your face. It's different. He's built different.
If you can take one player from this Villa team and put it into the current day squad, just one, who are you going for?
Probably Ashley Young.
Youngie,
As much as like Gareth Barry was an unbelievable midfielder, but Villa have got a very good midfield.
That's probably where you're most stacked. Despite this being a great midfield, you guys are really good in midfield at the moment.
Yeah, I've picked Barry up again. I mean, if I could add him to what we got, that would be great. We'd have some unbelievable options. But I think Young would get into the team now. So I'd probably go him.
What's that front line look like with Young?
I think he'd just be in there with Rodgers and McGinn. At the moment, there's three off Watkins. I reckon that would be pretty tasty, wouldn't it? I'd take that.
Yeah.
I mean, he went back to Villa as well, didn't he? Ashley Young, he ended up, but he's a fullback at that point. Which again, 2009, if you'd have said to me that Ashley Young's going to be a fullback at some point,
honestly,
I'd have never seen that.
I couldn't believe it.
As the notorious diver.
Ashley Young is the diver with the Mercurials and the flashy winger.
Yeah.
He's a
To
good
see him
fullback
become
as well.
a hard-nosed, no-nonsense fullback. I mean, it
shaved his
originated
head
at Man United, really,
Shaved
when
his head.
Van Gaal played him as a wing-back. But to see his transformation as the consummate professional now, it's a bit shocking, right?
Proper. I never saw that. You obviously watched. Well, we watched him a lot at United, but you saw him in his early phases. I mean, I
Never would have had him down as a defender.
Ever.
Not in a million years.
Nah. And Milner, because he could play anywhere. Milner could play up front and in goal. You know what I mean? He's one of them players. So I could see it with James Milner, but Ashley Young.
That's one of the most bizarre football transformations I've seen.
That's like Jadon Sancho turning into a right back all of a sudden and just locking down your best winger. It's insane. Can't imagine it.
Cam, Dan, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, man.
Really enjoyed this latest episode of Rematch. I hope you guys at home have as well, too. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you catch all the episodes that have happened in the past, and make sure to see all of the ones coming in the future. So like, share, all that good stuff, and we'll see you very, very soon. Peace.